A lot of people may think that they have the right property to rent, and rightfully so, to be honest. But the key part, just as important as that, is having the right tenants to live in that property. Guys, let's be real here. There's some bad tenants and then there's some good tenants. Okay. The best of properties, guys, can seem like a nightmare if you have the wrong tenant. I've heard of some horror stories, guys, not gonna lie. But in this video, guys, I'm going to talk about the right type of tenant you guys want as a landlord, and also just as important is keeping those right tenants. Yeah, my number one tip as to how to keep them to stay in your property for longer. You're going to be surprised with that one.
You know what you're watching. DS Learning Finance. Whoa.
Now I know there's some of you guys that just want me to tell you the number one tip, so I'm going to do you that service. I'm going to give you it, guys. The right type of tenant you want for your property will end up looking after the property, won't damage it, won't break things needlessly. Yeah, that's the right type of tenant you guys want. And also will keep the place clean. There's some dirty tenants. But the thing that I like to do to keep those tenants enticed in the property is to actually cap the rental price, guys. Yeah, I know it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? Yeah. Like, I know it can seem quite ludicrous, guys, to like cap your rental price, but the thing about properties is that it just doesn't relate to the price itself. There's more factors that play into account. Let's be real here, guys, yeah? Eventually, all tenants move out. It can be days, weeks, even months before finding another suitable tenant to start paying you rent again. Just have that in the back of your head, because when they don't pay rent, it means you have to pay the mortgage. Yep. So I think it's best for me to give you guys an example of just what I mean by this. So let's just say, for example, you're charging your tenants, guys, yeah, 400 PCM, so £400 per month. Yeah, this is how much you're getting before paying bills, before paying everything for the property from the tenant. That's cool, but really and truly your bills accumulate to £250, guys. So you got to subtract £250 each and every month from that £400, which means that only a genius could have guessed it. Yeah, you've got £150 to play around with, guys. Yeah. So all the mortgages and all the bills and whatnot are subtracted from that 250, everything, yeah? So you've got all that to pay for, guys. Cool. Now this is all well and good, yeah, when the tenant is there. But let me throw this little curveball at you guys. So some time has passed and you notice that other properties in your area, similar to the house that you own, yeah, now have increased their price to £425, guys, per month, basically, for tenants to pay. In this scenario, there's actually two routes that the landlord can take. The first option is to actually cap your price at 400 PCM. So the other houses, yeah, can do what they want to do. They can choose to increase to 425, but I've decided to cap it, guys. So what that effectively means is that I'm kind of losing out on some potential £25 per month, yeah. So PCM per month, I'm losing out on that, guys, yeah. So I'm quite disappointed as a landlord. I'm not optimizing my property, right? It's not as straightforward as it seems, guys, trust me. Just hold on to this thought, guys. Now I'm going to talk about option 2, which is to actually increase our rental price. And now it's £425 basically per month. So we decided to basically copy the market and go along with it. Cool. The important thing to understand is that, let's be real here, guys, no one likes a price increase, yeah? Tenants don't like to have to pay you more money. That's just real, yeah? So that £425 now, that extra £25 each and every month can be the difference between a tenant looking to find another property, basically. Let's be real, I'm yet to meet a tenant that won't be upset with that, guys. Like, they're 100% they're going to be unhappy. Let's be real. Who wants to pay more money to your landlord? Don't make sense, guys. But the important part here is not actually this £25 increase. It's keeping the tenant in the property for longer, because that means more consistent money in your pocket, and it means you don't have to fork out your own personal money to pay the mortgage guy, to pay the light bills, to pay whatever it is surrounding the property. It means you don't have to pay for that. So the key part when it comes to properties is consistent revenue from that tenant. That is the most important thing, guys. Yeah? Trust me when I say this, because now let's say that the tenant just happens to look elsewhere. Yeah, they're looking elsewhere for this property. Now you guys might argue that this £25 may not be enough to push that tenant to look elsewhere. Maybe they can, you know what, deep it. Yeah, it's £25. I'm not happy. There's £25 extra I've got to pay, but it's just £25 each month. It's not that much. Well, one thing I know, and one thing you guys know probably, is that properties eventually increase as time goes on. So that £425 this time, maybe £450 next time. It may be £500 that other houses like yours in your area charge their tenants. So eventually it's going to come to a stage where the tenant will be looking at this price, this new increased rental price. They'll be thinking, you know what, yeah, that ain't gonna cut it. Maybe I can get something cheaper and better elsewhere. And that's what you want to try and avoid when it comes to having your tenant move out of your property. You don't want them to leave. When you sit down and actually deep it, guys, yeah, your mortgage, unless you've got a remortgage, fair enough, but you're more likely to just keep it as it's going. Keep your lot costs down low. Yeah, let's say that you kept your mortgage the same. Your costs are still going to be the same each and every month while they're about this, yeah. So this £25 is just a case of you being too greedy. You're already making £150 PCM per month, like I just explained in the beginning, guys. So this is just a case of you being too greedy. Is being too greedy justifying losing a tenant? I personally don't think it justifies that. The tenant is more valuable than an extra £25 or whatever it is, a little amount per month, guys. Now, I reckon I've won over probably 60% of you guys, yeah, to go for option 1 rather than option 2. So actually capping your rental price when it comes to specifically good tenants, guys. Let's mention that, because if they're bad tenants, then yo, do what needs must be met, okay? But if they're good tenants, guys, they've treated your property carefully, they've really looked after it, kept it clean, then I think it justifies capping the price within reason. Let me just put that there. That's my little. But yeah, within reason, guys, yeah. But for the remaining 40%, imagine yourself as a landlord, guys, yeah. Remember what I said originally, tenants eventually move out. So you don't want to give them this reason to move out of your property just because you're being too greedy. Don't give them that. Make them move out because maybe they're relocating somewhere. Maybe they've managed to get a new job. Maybe they're moving in with their partner. Whatever it is, give them an actual valid reason to relocate. Don't give them just a reason just because you've increased your price. To some degree, I don't think that's justified when it comes to increasing the rent. And when you sit down and actually think about it, guys, yeah, like I said, days, weeks, even months to find a new tenant. So here's the key part that I really want to nail into, you guys, yeah? And it's that, let's say that by this increase in the price, yeah, by £25 each and every month, the rental price, you force a tenant to look elsewhere. And you know what I said? It takes months, guys. It takes time for you to find another suitable tenant, the right type of tenant. Yeah, it can take a month, let's say, for example. So it takes you a month. That means you've lost £425, guys, just from increasing it by £25. That's cool. Obviously that's a big hit, but it's manageable. But in order for you to lose that sort of money, yeah, by capping the price and effectively not maximizing your rental property, yeah, it would take you a year and 5 months. So what am I telling you guys? I'm telling you guys, by increasing the rent, yeah, you're more likely to lose money in a shorter time frame than by capping the rent for your tenant and having them stay in your property for longer. And that's the key part. It comes back to what I was saying. You need consistent payment. That is the most valuable thing when it comes to a property. You want consistent payment, because guess what? When this ain't there, yeah, when you're not getting this money, it means that you're having to fork out this money, guys. It means that you're having to pay for it out of your own pocket. And this is just a simple example. This is 1 month. Some properties, it can take several months. It can take half a year to find the right sort of tenant. And that means that time in between losing an old tenant and finding a new one, you have to pay for it. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to pay for anything. I don't like paying for anything. I'd rather have my tenants pay for it. So this comes back to what I was trying to tell you guys. Consistent payment is the best, most ideal thing when it comes to owning a property. And so for the sake of £25 extra, does it justify you potentially losing this tenant? I don't think it does, guys, yeah. But this is the sort of mind frame that I want you guys to look at. Yeah, consistent, lengthy payments, reliability. Think along them sort of lines rather than, can I make this quick money now rather than not. No, there's a transition period in between. It takes time for these things to manifold. This price increase can affect what a tenant does later on in their life. And also, it just makes you seem like a good landlord, guys. From a positive perspective, from the tenant's perspective, you can actually use this as a positive thing for them. So maybe £425, yeah, you could have let them know, look, other properties in this area has increased by £425, but because you've looked after the property for such a long time and you've looked after it really well, we've decided to keep the price the same. That's going to form a good bond between you and that tenant. And you never know, that bond can be the difference between keeping a tenant for 2 to 3 years rather than keeping a tenant for 2 to 3 months, guys. It can be the difference. And maybe even if they're looking elsewhere in other areas, they might actually still want you to be their landlord, but because you built up that good relationship, that working relationship with them. And that's the end of my video, guys. I hope you got the gist of what I was trying to say. You want consistent, reliable payments from your tenants. Yeah, don't think about a short term with price increases. Think about the long term. Will this make my tenant potentially leave? If not, why am I doing it? Especially if I'm still already getting money. But like I said, guys, this all comes with having a good tenant. If you've got a bad tenant, then all this stuff gets kicked out the window, yeah? But for a good tenant, maybe you're willing to make some sacrifices. That's what I'm trying to say. Don't think the typical way that most people will think. Just don't let money lead the way. Think about it from your perspective. Think about it from the tenant's perspective. Think about it from a neutral perspective. And then go along that way. Cool. It's your favorite YouTuber, guys, Damien Solari. I talk about stock market investments, property investments, financial management too, giving you guys that consistent content, you know. Before you guys can go about doing whatever you're going to do for the rest of the day, say with me, like, subscribe and share, people. What? DS Learning Finance. Whoa. Bye, guys.
Whoa.
Ah.